Shinobi Art of Vengeance is a reboot of the old school Shinobi series from the 80s and 90s, and after playing through its recent demo, I gotta say it's not really what I expected from watching the trailers. For a bit of background, I grew up with the old Shinobi games on the Mega Drive, so I obviously have a soft spot for the series. So when I heard the team responsible for Streets of Rage 4 was making a Shinobi game, I was instantly sold on it. But one thing I noticed from the trailers, which has now been confirmed by the demo, is that compared to the old games, Shinobi Art of Vengeance focuses more on flashy melee combat and cool combos, with the classic throwing knives being a secondary choice in the game. In fact, you can only carry 10 knives at a time at first, but you can upgrade the capacity to 15 later on. The game is really cool. The gameplay is very smooth and the combat is really fun, but the thing is that it doesn't feel like a Shinobi game at all, so if you thought this was going to be like Streets of Rage 4, a game that pays tribute and builds on the original series, you might be a bit disappointed because Shinobi feels like a completely different game. The gameplay is very different, the atmosphere is very different, the art style is very different, and the level design is very different. You see, Shinobi Art of Vengeance is a stage-based game where each stage is a small metroidvania map with a few linear sections and a bit of exploration. You also have ability gating, lots of cool platforming sections, and a bit of backtracking. This is not an arcade side-scroller that you can run through as fast as you can. This is a semi-metroidvania that you need to take your time to explore. The general gameplay and level design are a lot closer to something like Dead Cells compared to the old Shinobi games, and the art style is very cartoony. There is also a bit of dialogue in the game, which I thought was really cringe.
But if you show me how it's done, I'll be sure to pass it on to the rest so we can do the Oboro clan justice.
Honestly, I think the game would have been better off with no voice acting at all, because it really messes with the vibe of the game, and it makes you feel like you're playing a Ninja Turtles game.
Hey there, Shinobi! Welcome to the yokai shop!
The old Shinobi games were a lot darker and more badass, so it's weird to play a Shinobi game that feels like a cartoon made for kids. But the game is really good for what it is. It's just different. It doesn't feel like a game that was made for the fans of the series like they did with Streets of Rage 4, but rather it feels like a new game for a new generation of gamers. And that's absolutely fine, but I just wanted to make that clear. Shinobi Art of Vengeance doesn't have that much in common with the older games, and honestly, if you replace Joe Musashi with any other character, it would not make a difference. It's just a modern style semi-metroidvania game with fast-paced and flashy combat. And the combat is really fun, but I feel like it's a bit overcomplicated for no good reason. Like they just wanted to cram as many gameplay features in it as possible, but the enemies in the game are never that many or that strong to actually require you to interact with all of the game's many systems. For example, you have light attacks and strong attacks, you have a ranged attack, you have a ninpo that lets you breathe fire, which you activate by pressing L1 plus triangle. But also, dealing damage to enemies can open them up to an execution move, which you perform by pressing L1 plus R1, and the game encourages you to move from one enemy to another and build up their execution bar, then execute all of them using a single execution move, which nets you some extra rewards. And then you have the ninjutsu, which you activate by holding down L2 plus R2 and then pressing circle. Honestly, it feels a bit convoluted and unnecessary, and I think the regular light and heavy attacks would have sufficed, because the execution moves kind of break up the flow of combat, and I don't like the idea of moving from one enemy to another without killing them, just so I can execute multiple enemies at a time. And also, having to press 3 buttons for a single move is definitely a choice. Based on what I've played so far, I absolutely love the game on its own, but I probably won't be buying it on day one, because while it is a really good game, it doesn't feel like Shinobi, and it doesn't feel like an absolute must-play Metroidvania masterpiece, so I'll probably wait for it to go on sale first. Shinobi Art of Vengeance launches later this month on the 29th of August, but the demo is available right now on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo and PC, so if you haven't played it already, I strongly recommend you give it a try. But these are my first impressions of the game, and now I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you plan on picking this up on day one, or would you rather wait for a sale like me? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more reviews, impressions and gaming hot takes. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.